Okay. The Mishkan, I would suggest for those that don't have a picture of what the Mishkan looks like, I would suggest two things. One is the stone Chumash actually does an amazing job on the diagrams that it gives for the different kalim, the different vessels that are in the Mishkan, and the just a simple diagram of the Mishkan. You find that in the stone Chumash, it's on 463. There are some editions of the stone Chumash, I think, that have fancier pictures in the back, but nevertheless, in the Parsha itself, and next week's Parsha also, Tetzaveh, it gives you a very, very good pictures, very good diagrams of the Mishkan and of the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. You can also go online and just type in Google, just type in Mishkan, and it's just worthwhile to see to see the pictures of the Mishkan, so that you have a little idea of exactly what the Mishkan was. I have a very amazing book called the Tabernacle, which is the original. Art Scroll has done one, but this is the original. It's probably 75 years old, and it's amazing. Somebody built a model and they took pictures of the model, and it just gives you a very good feel of exactly what it is we're talking about. So the Torah begins that God speaks, Vaydaber Shama Moshe, Lemor Dabra B'nai Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, V'yikchuli, and take from me a truma. Kol ish meis kol ish asher yidvenu libo, from every person asher yidvenu libo, that his heart moves him, which already tells us something about what the Mishkan has to be, because the Mishkan is not just the building, because we're not collecting just money. The money that we were collecting was me'es kol isha sheyidvenu libo, from every person whose heart moves them, which means that the donation had to come not from the pocket, the donation had to come from the heart, which already changes everything. V'zos hatruma asher tikchu meitam, this is what I want, zav, kesef, nechoshes, and he lists all the materials, which we'll come back to in a few minutes. And then in verse 8, V'asuli mikdash, you will make for me a sanctuary, v'shachanti b'socham, and I will dwell inside of them. Not inside of the sanctuary, though God will dwell inside of the sanctuary. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, rests inside of the sanctuary. But nevertheless, it's not about resting inside of the sanctuary. It's v'shachanti b'socham. The goal is to rest in the Jewish people. The mitzvah of the building of a mikdash, which had a specific name in the time of the desert, which was the Mishkan, is v'asuli mikdash, you will make for me a sanctuary, v'shachanti b'socham, and I will dwell inside of them. The simple pshat is that if you build the temple in the right way, so then I will be able to reside inside of the people, which is a beautiful thing. But what about us that can't build a Mishkan? What about us that can't build a mikdash? We can't be yotzei that mitzvah. So then what does this mitzvah say to me? This is one of the commandments in the Torah, v'yasili mikdash v'shachanti b'socham, and yet it seems that I can't fulfill it. So what does this mitzvah have to teach those that can't build the Mishkan? So commentaries say that the word mikdash, which refers to the temple, comes from the word kadosh. The word kadosh, the word holy, which we use often, there's no real understanding of what holy is. We talk about, it's a holy person or a holy time, a holy place. Very hard to describe what that means, to quantify what holiness is. What holiness really means is that it means something that is designated or separated, something that's elevated, something that is prepared. We are makdish a korban. We sanctify a sacrifice. It means we set it apart and we say, this is going to be, we designate it, we prepare it for being a sacrifice. When we talk about the korban Pesach, we are mafresh a Pesach. We set it aside and we are makdish it. We sanctify it. Sanctifying it means we prepare it. We elevate it. We separate it. And in that way, prepare it for what it is meant to do and accomplish. Every time we do a mitzvah, every time we daven, every time we do a chesed, every time we do tzedakah, every time we put on tefillin, every time we light Shabbos candles. Every one of these things is an action, and it's an experience where God comes into our lives. We've spoken about that over the past couple of days. We've spoken about that over the past couple of months, that mitzvos are not actions, are not merely actions, but these are places and actions and things in time where we connect with God and where we bring God into our lives. We spoke about yesterday, in the concept of Torah Lishma, that the concept of Torah Lishma, different than just regular Torah, is that we're not merely just studying to know, we're not merely just studying to study, we're studying with the eye towards that this is the vehicle through which we connect to God. We've spoken about how davening is us talking to God, and learning Torah is God talking to us. If that's what mitzvahs are, then every time a person performs a mitzvah, then by definition, that should connect us to God. And it should bring us closer. And we should be, through the mitzvos, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvosav, that he has sanctified us. And using that same concept, he's lifted us up, he has prepared us, separated us, designated us, and that by definition, we should be coming closer to God through these experiences. Yet, often, we do these experiences, we do these actions, we daven, we light candles, we hear the Megillah, but we don't necessarily feel that connection, that elevation, that sanctification. Because even though we do these mitzvos and we do them properly, but we're missing one aspect of the kiddush, one aspect of the kedusha that makes it difficult for the mitzvah to land and to have the effect that it's meant to have on us. As we mentioned, that the word kedusha, to be mekadesh something, means to prepare something. And very often what we do is that we run into mitzvahs and we run out of mitzvahs. We accomplish it, we check it off the box, even with kavanah in the middle of the mitzvah. But we don't have that kedusha, we don't have that preparation before the mitzvah, which would maximize our connection to it and would maximize our yield from that mitzvah. And maybe that's what the Torah is telling us, that the commandment to build the sanctuary is termed ve'asu li mikdash, that you have to make yourself something that is prepared. It's not just the mikdash, it's not just about the sanctuary, but it's about the asiyah. It's about the preparation. It's about the getting ready. And that if you take a few seconds and you think about what you're about to do, now you build a mikdash, you build a place, an experience which is elevated and sanctified. Because you were ve'asu li mikdash. When you are osa, when you do something, so then that is mekadesh, the thing you do. The real mitzvah is to build a sanctuary. But it's not just about building a sanctuary, it's ve'asuli. It's making the preparations to do that, which then are going to create the mikdash. It's not just the following the plans and following the material and putting it up the way that I told you to put it up that is going to be a mikdash, but it's the vi'asuli. It's all the preparations that go into it. It's all the nidvos leiv. It's all the stuff that comes from the heart, all the desire, the excitement, all the enthusiasm, all the energy that you put into it, which is part of that preparation. That's what makes the mikdash. That's what makes it into a unique place and a place where we can connect to God. Though the Shekhinah is there, it is not necessarily automatic or axiomatic that you're going to feel connected to it. It's about the preparation, v'asuli mikdash. And that's what I can take from the mitzvah, though I can't perform the actual mitzvah itself. I can apply that concept to every single thing I do. and understand that the more that I prepare for it, the more asiya, the more I am osa, the more I do, and the more I prepare for that. So then v'shachanti b'socham, that's how God is going to rest inside of me. It's the reason why in front of many mitzvos is printed hineni muchan u'mezumon, which we often ignore. I remember by our Seder, we didn't necessarily do it the rest of the year, but by the Seder, where it's printed hineni muchan, usually before the Dalet Kosos and also before the mitzvah of matzah, we had a special song that we sang, hineni muchan u'mezumon, and it was a shleppy tune that that repeated every word like 27 times. But that was part of the hachana, because the more you sang it and the more you said it over, that was part, your mind was working on that. Hineni muchan u'mezumon, I am prepared and I am ready to be mekayim this mitzvah, to attach the yud-hey to the vav-hey, to be able to bring the whole thing together, to have this work on me. And it's when we have that approach to the things that we do, when we stop for a minute before we perform mitzvahs, so then that's when we can maximize the effect that they have on us. Yosef's godless, Yosef in Mitzrayim, his greatness wasn't just in the fact that he understood Paro's dream, that he understood that Paro's dream about seven lean years, 7 good years, that there was going to be a famine in Mitzrayim. That was relatively easy to understand. But in the godless, the greatness of Yosef was in his wisdom to be able to teach Paro how to prepare for this inevitability. It's not merely about the doing, but it's about the preparation. Look at Parshas Yisro. Parshas Yisro, 2 weeks ago's Parsha was all about Kabbalah HaTorah. It was all about the receiving of the Torah. But the truth is, the beginning of the Parsha, which was all about Yisro, and then the first 3 aliyahs before the Torah is given, all of that are about the hachanos. It's about the preparations and the foundations that are laid first in order to be able to receive the Torah in a way that the Torah has a maximum impact on us. Moshe Rabbeinu even added a day to the preparation days. The Gemara says that there were 2 days that God commanded that they should get themselves ready, and Moshe was Mosif. He added 1 day, and God agreed with him. Because Moshe understood the people that if you're going to get something that is so enormous, then you have to make preparations for it. One of the tainas, the complaints against the Jewish people, and the reason why we do this every year, we commemorate and memorialize and try to work this out and work around this, is that when we went to sleep the night before Matan Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu had to arouse us, he had to once again drag us to the mountain and bring us and get us ready for Matan Torah. Because we hadn't made, with all the preparations that we hadn't made that sufficient preparation, that we had that enthusiasm and excitement to go into and to grab that Torah. That's the reason why we stay up Shavuos night. The minhag is the custom to stay up, because we missed that opportunity at the original Matan Torah, and therefore at the yearly Matan Torah. So then we have to express that enthusiasm, excitement, and preparation in order to be able to be makabel, to be able to receive the Torah. We see an amazing thing in 3 weeks ago's Parsha, when we dealt with the man. The Torah tells us in Perek Tezayin, chapter 16, verse 27, that God told the people Moshe told the people that the man was going to fall, and he told them exactly how they have to relate to the man, that they have to go and take only one portion and not take double portions, because anything they take extra from what every person in their family needs is going to turn rotten. And in fact, that's what happened. And then on Friday morning, Moshe tells them that they have to prepare themselves for Shabbos, and that they're not going to be able to collect on Shabbos. They should take it on Friday, because on Shabbos no man is going to come down. And then, of course, as one would expect, So then, Vayiba Yom HaShvi was on the seventh day. Yotzu Mina'am Lilkot. There are people that went out to go and collect the mun. And the people we know were the same two people that were causing us trouble all along, Dasan and Aviram. V'lo matzo, but they didn't find. And then you incredibly look at the next pasuk, and it says, "Vayomer Hashem Moshe." God says to Moshe, "Ad ana me'antem lishma mitzvosai v'sarasai." Why did you refuse to observe my commandments and my teachings? Whoa, wait a second. I didn't go shopping on Shabbos morning. You want to yell at Dasan and Aviram? Yell at Dasan and Aviram. What is Moshe getting clipped for? What did Moshe do wrong? And to the extent that you're saying that you refuse to observe me'antem lishmor, to guard mitzvosai v'sorosai, what does that mean? So I think what's Rashi, just a few verses back, says that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't tell them until Friday morning that they should take a double portion. And we know that double portion is the reason why we have 2 challahs every Shabbos at every meal. But that Moshe didn't tell them until Friday morning. And that perhaps what God is saying to Moshe, that had you given them the time to prepare and to become excited and enthused about Shabbos coming, so then they never would have gone out to collect on Shabbos morning. If they were prepared for it, if they had spent all week thinking about Shabbos, then they wouldn't have been tempted on Shabbos morning to test and to see, is the mun going to be there? Can we go and get the mun? Because Shabbos would have been something that was so big to them that it would have sung on itself. That the minute Shabbos entered, they would have been elevated right away into Shabbos. Because it all depends ultimately on the preparation that a person does. That's why God says to him, Ad ana me'antem lishmor mitzvosai v'sorosai. Lishmor could mean to guard, but it also means to hold on to prepare for something. Which says by Yaakov, V'shomer es hadovar. He held on to it because he knew at some point this information was going to be important. To prepare and to get ourselves ready for something. That's where the greatness, that's where the most impact comes. We do this every single day. We say, Hayom Yom Rishon LeShabbos. Hayom Yom Sheni LeShabbos. We're counting toward Shabbos, from Shabbos toward Shabbos, because it's all keeping Shabbos in our minds. It's all about preparing for an event and a moment. Because the preparation that we do for something, it raises the impact and our ability to be able to get something from it. We do that in our davening. The whole first part of davening, Psukei de Zimra, the songs of praise. We start with Baruch Shamar, we end with Yishtabach, and it's a song. It's a song of praise. I remember there was somebody in my shul. I daven Psukei de Zimra out loud. You walk into shuls all over, people davening Psukei de Zimra out loud. It's a song to God. A person bitterly complained to me that there's so much noise in the shul. That it's, why aren't we davening silently? We're supposed to daven silently. Shmoneh Esrei is supposed to be silent. But Psukei de Zimra has to be songs, uplifting songs. Ashrei Yoshvei Veisecha. How happy and fortunate I am to be able to sit in God's house. It's a song. I said, can you imagine? You invited a group of people together for a Malava Malka to sing songs, right? For Zmiros. And you're all sitting around the table. Dun 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 dun. What kind of song is that? You're silent. There's no singing. Psukei de Zimra is just that. But why are we singing at the beginning of davening? Why are we saying this very elaborate section? Because it's all about preparation. The essence of davening is the Shema, accepting upon ourselves the yoke of heaven, and the Shmoneh Esrei, the private conversation that we have with God. But we need to prepare. We need to get ready. We need to be conscious of what we're doing. Even if we say that mitzvahs, einon tzrichas kavana, they don't need specific kavana. When you do a mitzvah, you're yotzei, but you're yotzei. You haven't maximized the impact. To maximize the impact, that's what gives us, when we make the preparations, that's how we maximize it. Purim is coming, and on its heels, Pesach is going to be here. Everybody knows that the more it's in the center of our minds. The more we prepare for it, the more we're conscious of it, we think about it. It takes over our lives. When it actually arrives, it's not a dud. When it actually arrives, it's not like anticlimactic, but that all of the preparation and all of the looking at the details and the reading and the internal preparations that we do, all of that gels together at that moment, and it allows us to maximize the impact. And that's really what this mitzvah in this week's Parsha is teaching me. V'asuli mikdash, v'asuli. Prepare it for me. Make it ready. Put your energy into it. And then there's going to be a mikdash. That moment, that action, that day, that event is going to be mekudesh. It's going to be filled with sanctity, filled with specialness. It's going to be unique and separated from everything because of the v'asu, because of all of the energy that you put into it. You know, when we list all of the materials at the beginning of the Parsha, so the Torah goes through all the things that were collected and that were needed for the Jewish people, for the Mishkan. And the Torah tells me that we have to collect from the people gold and silver and copper, turquoise, purple, and scarlet wool, linen and goat hair, red dyed ram skins, tachash skins, acacia wood, oil for illumination, spices for the anointment oil, and the aromatic incense. Now, this is going sort of down. It starts with gold and silver, and then the special wool and the special goat hairs. And then the final things, shoham stones and stones for the settings, for the breastplate, for the ephod and the breastplate. Now, those stones were $1 million stones. The Gemara talks about how expensive those stones were, that the rabbis went to a certain person and they asked that person to Dama ben Nesina, whatever, and they were going to buy the stones from Dama ben Nesina, and he was the person was father was sleeping and he couldn't go and wake his father up, which is a story that you need to tell your children on a Shabbos afternoon about not waking up their parents. But they went to Dama Nesina, and Dama Nesina wasn't even Jewish, which is like the whole amazing thing, and he wouldn't wake up his father. And the reward that he got for that, the value that he had lost because he was going to sell these stones, and that now he was rewarded with, was incredible. The price that they were willing to pay was incredible, because these stones were very, very valuable stones. They're precious, precious stones. They're listed last after wool and linen and goat hair. Linen and goat hair, like, I mean, it's not that expensive. And you list these precious stones after them? The Torah is telling us these stones weren't so precious. They were valuable, but they weren't so precious because of the way they were brought. The Nesiim said, the princes of the tribes said, that whatever the Jewish people bring, good, we'll bring the shortfall. Whatever is not collected, we'll take care of. Now, every building campaign would love to have a person like that. Right? It says, you go collect from the community what you can, and then come back to me, and I'll take care of the rest of it. But that wasn't precious, because what God asked for was, "V'asu limikdash," do it now. What God wanted was, He wanted v'yichuli truma. Go donate now. Don't worry about the win. You want to give the shortfall, you'll give the shortfall later, but you have to give something now. And they gave nothing now. They waited, and God took these stones and dropped them in front of their tents. And all they had to do was go and pick them up and deliver them. And that wasn't precious, because there was no preparation. There was no hachana. There was no energy put into it. And when there's no energy put into it, it takes something that could be so valuable and it knocks it down. And I think that one of the things that we have to recognize in the building of an internal mikdash, Bilvavi Mishkan Evne, in my heart, I'm going to build a sanctuary. I'm going to build a sanctuary to God, but it's only going to come through Va'asuli. It's only going to come through the preparation. And the more preparation that I make, the more precious and beautiful are the things that I do. Okay, my thoughts. Everybody should have a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos. Enjoy the preparation for Shabbos. Enjoy the preparation and the thought process, all of the energy that goes into thinking about Purim, and that we should be able to maximize all of the things that we do and get the most out of them, and that everything we do should be precious. Have a beautiful Shabbos, everyone, and we'll see you in Mirz Hashem on Sunday morning.
Will do. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. It was beautiful.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Everybody, please remember, somehow get me your address. You can either WhatsApp me, or you can email me, or put it on the chat. I'll leave it open for another minute or two. Put it on the chat, and then I can load it off the chat. Okay, thank you very much.
Can you please include your address as well? Your address?
Yes, I can write
Thank
it
you.
on here. You know what? I can just okay, I can write it on here, or I can tell it to you.
Yeah, sure.
It is 6 Migdal HaMenorah, Modi'in, apartment
Thanks.
16. It's the, you know what the best view in Modi'in is? Best view in Modi'in is from Dimri, because it's the only place in Modi'in that you don't see the Dimri Towers.
Ay, ay, ay.
6 Migdal HaMenorah,
So true.
apartment 16. Okay, there we go. Apartment 16, floor 6. I'm just, okay. I just put it up there. Okay, I am clicking off. Everybody should have a beautiful and wonderful Shabbos.
Shabbos, Rabbi.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.